The Veth Dominion had ruled their part of space for 12,000 years. Their warships numbered in the tens of thousands. Their soldiers had never known defeat. In all that time, across hundreds of conquered worlds and dozens of destroyed species, no one had ever escaped them. High Commander Yorith stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Hunger, and watched the stars stream past. His forearms were folded behind his back. His compound eyes reflected the blue glow of hyperspace. He was patient. He was always patient. The hunt was everything to his people, and a good hunt could not be rushed. 50-3 ships fled before him. 53 vessels carrying the last survivors of the Ashani Collective. They were small creatures, the Ashani, soft-bodied, gentle, with large dark eyes and voices like music. They had been artists once, poets, dreamers. Now they were prey. The Veth had come to their world 6 months ago. The Ashani had no weapons. They had no military. They believed in peace and harmony and the goodness of the universe. The conquest had taken less than a day, but some had escaped. Some always tried to escape. That was the part Yorith enjoyed most. "Aye, Commander," his tactical officer said, mandibles clicking as he spoke. "The prey has changed course again." They moved toward the quarantine zones. Yorith made a sound of amusement. The quarantine zones were the dead places of the galaxy. Empty systems where nothing lived and nothing grew. Ancient warnings marked those regions on every star chart, placed there by civilizations long dead. The Veth had never bothered to explore them. There was nothing there worth taking. "They grow desperate," Yorith said. "Good. Desperate prey makes mistakes." His fleet numbered 40 warships. Each one was larger than any 3 Ashani vessels combined. They carried weapons that could crack planets and soldiers bred for violence. This was not a battle. This was simply the end of a story that had been written the moment the Ashani chose to run. "How long until we catch them?" Yorith asked. "At current speeds, perhaps 30 cycles. They burn their fuel recklessly. Their engines will fail soon." "No, we will not wait for their engines to fail." Yorith turned from the view screen. "We will push them, drive them harder. I want them to feel us behind them every moment. I want them to know that no matter how fast they run, we are always there." The tactical officer bowed his head. "As you command, High Commander." The pursuit continued. Days passed, then weeks. The Ashani convoy fled through systems that had no names, past dead worlds and dying stars. They sacrificed cargo to lighten their ships. They pushed their engines beyond safe limits. 3 of their vessels broke down and had to be abandoned. The Veth did not stop to destroy them. They did not need to. The Void would claim those ships soon enough. On the 45th day of the chase, the Ashani matriarch sent a message. Her name was Solani, and she had led her people for 60 years. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Please," she said, "we have nothing you want. We are no threat to you. Let us go. Let us find some empty world where we can live in peace. You will never see us again." Yorith listened to the message 3 times. Then he recorded his response. "Your request is denied. The Veth do not release prey. Your species has been marked for termination. Your biological materials will serve the Dominion. Your genetic code will be cataloged and then destroyed. This is not cruelty. This is simply the natural order. The strong consume the weak. The hunters take the prey. Your prey, Matriarch Solani. You have always been prey, and prey does not bargain with the hunter." He sent the message and returned to watching the stars. The Ashani did not respond. On the 52nd day, something strange happened. The Ashani convoy suddenly changed course, turning toward a small yellow star in the distance. It was an unremarkable star in an unremarkable system, but the Ashani flew toward it as if their lives depended on reaching it. "What is there?" Yorith asked. "What do they flee toward?" His tactical officer consulted the database. "Nothing of note, High Commander. A small system with 8 planets. No Veth presence. No known civilization. The 3rd planet shows signs of life, but our records indicate a primitive species. Category 4 Deathworld origin. Pre-contact status." Yorith had heard of Deathworlds. They were rare things, planets where life itself was a constant battle for survival. The creatures that evolved on such worlds were often strong and fierce, but they were also primitive. Violence had a way of preventing civilizations from developing. A species too busy fighting to survive rarely had time to build starships. "Ignore it," Yorith said. "Continue the pursuit." On the 72nd day, the Ashani convoy crossed an invisible line in space. There were no markers, no warning beacons, nothing to indicate that this region was any different from the empty void they had traveled through for months. But somewhere in the cold dark between stars, something noticed their passing, and something began to wake. The first sign was a signal. It reached the eternal hunger 6 hours after they crossed the boundary. The communication was primitive, carried on electromagnetic waves rather than proper subspace channels. But the translation was clear enough. "Attention, unidentified vessels. You have entered protected space under the jurisdiction of the Terran Confederation. State your intentions and prepare to be boarded for inspection. Failure to respond will be treated as a hostile act." Yorith's mandibles spread in amusement. "Terran Confederation? What is that?" His communications officer searched the database. "Unknown, High Commander. No records of contact with any species using that designation. The signal originates from a small station near the 3rd planet of this system. One structure. No warships detected. Then they are nothing." Yorith turned away from the console. "Continue pursuit. The prey is close now. I can almost taste their fear." The signal came again, and again, each time more insistent than the last. Yorith deleted them without reading. Far ahead, the Ashani convoy had slowed. They clustered together near the 3rd planet, a small blue-green world covered in water and clouds. They had stopped running at last. Perhaps they had finally accepted their fate. Yorith gave the order to close in for the kill. He did not notice the small objects that began to move in the shadows of the outer planets. He did not see the lights that flickered on aboard vessels that had been dark and silent for months. He did not hear the voices that spoke in the darkness, calm and quiet and absolutely certain. "Cerberus Actual, this is Firebase Omega. You are cleared hot. Weapons free. Copy, Firebase. Cerberus is moving to intercept. Tell those refugees to sit tight. And the Veth?" A pause. Then, very softly, "The Veth are about to learn why the quarantine zones exist." Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chun had served on Sentinel Station 9 for 3 years. It was quiet duty. The station floated in the outer reaches of the Sol system, watching the dark spaces between stars for anything that might threaten Earth and her colonies. Most days, nothing happened. Ships came and went. Traders passed through. Occasionally, a lost probe from some forgotten civilization drifted by, and Sarah would log it and send a team to collect it for study. Today was different. She stood before the main display, watching 40 red icons chase 53 blue ones across the screen. The red icons were large. Military vessels, clearly. Heavy weapons signatures. The blue icons were smaller. Civilian ships running on fumes and prayers. "They're refugees," her sensor operator said. His name was Jackson, and he was young enough to still be shocked by such things. "I'm picking up distress signals." They're begging for help. Sarah nodded. She had already read the translations. The Ashani had been running for months. Their children were hungry. Their elderly were dying. They had nowhere else to go, and the ones chasing them? Veth Dominion. We have records from the library. They're conquerors. They don't take prisoners. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment. She had joined the Terran Navy to protect people. That was what humanity did now. After centuries of war and suffering on Earth, after nearly destroying themselves a dozen times over, humans had finally learned the lesson that their bloody history had been trying to teach them. The strong protect the weak. That was the only law that mattered. Send another warning, she said. Make it clear. If they don't stop, there will be consequences. The message went out. The Veth ignored it. They're not even slowing down, Jackson said. It's like they don't care. They don't. Sarah's voice was flat. They've never met anything that could threaten them. They don't understand what they're flying into. She walked to her console and opened the priority channel. The encryption was the highest level available. The recipient was a name that appeared in no official record, attached to a unit that did not technically exist. Firebase Omega, this is Sentinel Station 9. We have a Scenario 7 in progress. Hostile force pursuing protected refugees into Terran space. Requesting immediate deployment of Cerberus assets. The response came in seconds. A woman's voice, calm and professional. Sentinel 9, this is Firebase Omega. Cerberus is already moving. Colonel Webb received the refugee distress call 4 hours ago. He's been tracking the situation. Sarah felt something loosen in her chest. Understood. What are our orders? Stand by and document everything. The Colonel wants a complete record for the after-action report. Copy that. Sarah paused. Firebase. How many ships does Cerberus have in the area? 12. Jackson had been listening. His face went pale. 12 ships against 40? That's suicide. The woman on the other end of the channel laughed softly. Son, you don't know much about Cerberus, do you? The channel closed far out in the darkness. 12 ships moved toward the coming battle. They were small craft, each one crewed by 25 soldiers and 10 support staff. Their hulls were painted black, designed to absorb sensor signals rather than reflect them. They carried no identification markers, no running lights, nothing that would reveal their presence until they chose to be seen. Colonel Marcus Webb sat in the command chair of the lead vessel, the Silent Promise. He was 53 years old, with gray at his temples and scars on his hands from a lifetime of combat. He had fought in the water wars on Earth. He had led the assault on the pirate kingdoms of Tau Ceti. He had walked through fire and blood and come out the other side still standing, but he had never fought aliens before. None of them had. Tactical assessment, he said. Major Diana Rias pulled up the display. 40 Veth warships. Each one masses about 3 times what we do. Heavy plasma weapons, kinetic accelerators, torpedo bays. They've got numbers and firepower. And what do we have? Reyes smiled. It was not a nice smile. We have surprise. We have technology they've never seen. And we have 300 of the most dangerous soldiers humanity has ever produced. Webb nodded slowly. The soldiers of Cerberus were volunteers, every one of them. They had been selected from the best special forces units on Earth and the colonies. Then they had been trained, hard, for years. They had learned to fight in zero gravity and crushing pressure, in burning heat and freezing cold. They had been pushed past every limit a human body could endure, and then pushed further. They were Deathworlders. And on a death world, you either became the most dangerous thing in your environment, or you died. What about the refugees? Webb asked. 53 vessels. mostly civilian transports. About 12,000 souls aboard, including children and elderly. They've stopped near Earth. I think they're hoping we'll protect them. We will. Webb stood up. All hands, this is the Colonel. In approximately 2 hours, we will engage hostile forces that have pursued innocent refugees into our space. These hostiles intend to commit genocide. They believe they are the greatest hunters in the galaxy. They believe nothing can stop them. He paused. They're wrong. They don't know what a death world is. They don't understand what it means to evolve on a planet that tries to kill you every single day. They see our small bodies and soft skin and think we're weak. They look at our ships and count our numbers and assume this will be easy. His voice hardened. Show them their mistake. Show them what humanity is. And when they're broken and beaten and begging for mercy, show them something they've never seen before. What's that, sir? Someone asked. Webb smiled. Show them that mercy exists. Show them that the strong can choose to protect instead of destroy. And maybe, just maybe, they'll learn something their 12,000 years of conquest never taught them. The ships flew on through the darkness. Silent as death, patient as stone. On the bridge of the Eternal Hunger, High Commander Yorith watched the Ashani convoy cluster together like frightened animals. They had stopped running at last. They had nowhere left to go. The blue-green planet behind them was primitive, barely worth noting. Whatever species lived there could not possibly help. All ships moved to attack formation, Yorith commanded. Prepare to fire on my order. Today, the Ashani collective ends. His crew obeyed. 40 warships spread out in a perfect killing pattern. Weapons charging, sensors locked on helpless targets. None of them saw the shadows moving between the stars. None of them noticed the 12 small ships taking position around them. None of them understood that they had become the prey. Not yet, but they would. The boarding pods hit the Eternal Hunger like fists against a drum. High Commander Yorith felt each impact through the deck plates, a steady rhythm of doom approaching. 6 pods, 6 points of entry, 6 teams of creatures he had dismissed as primitive insects. Seal all corridors, he ordered. Send every soldier we have. Stop them at the breach points. His officers scrambled to obey. The Veth had 200 warriors aboard the flagship, each one bred for combat, armed with the finest weapons the Dominion could produce. They rushed toward the breach points, confident in their strength, certain of their victory. They met the humans in Corridor 7. Yorith watched through the security feeds. He saw his soldiers take position, weapons raised, ready to tear the invaders apart. He saw the breach door fall. He saw darkness pour through the opening. Then he saw his soldiers fall. The humans moved like nothing he had ever seen. They were smaller than the Veth, weaker, with only 2 arms and soft skin that should have torn at the slightest touch. But they did not fight like weak creatures. They did not fight like prey. They fought like nightmares. One human, barely reaching the chest of a Veth warrior, ducked under a sweeping claw and struck once. The warrior collapsed, unconscious before he hit the ground. Another human flowed past 2 soldiers, touching them both, and they fell like their strings had been cut. The whole thing took seconds. A dozen Veth warriors, gone in less time than it took to blink. What weapons are those? Yorith demanded. What are they using? His tactical officer stared at the screen. I do not know, Commander. Some kind of neural disruption. But our armor should protect against such things. It should. The humans pushed forward. They did not run. They did not hurry. They walked through the ship with absolute calm, as if they had all the time in the universe. Every Veth soldier they met, they put down. Not killed. Not butchered. Simply put down, like adults handling misbehaving children. Send the honor guard, Yorith commanded. Send everyone. Stop them, The Honor Guard was the elite of the Veth military, 20 warriors who had proven themselves in 100 battles. They formed a wall of claws and armor in the corridor outside the bridge, ready to die for their commander. The human team leader stopped 10 meters away. She removed her helmet. Urith stared at the screen. The creature was female, according to their database. Dark hair cut short. Brown skin. A scar running along her jaw. She looked at the Honor Guard with eyes that held no fear, no anger, no emotion at all. "My name is Sergeant Major Elena Rodriguez," she said. Her voice carried clearly through the corridor. "You can fight us and wake up in a few hours with headaches, or you can put down your weapons and save us all some time. Your choice." The Honor Guard leader stepped forward. He was the largest Veth on the ship, a mountain of chitin and muscle with claws that could tear through steel. "You are small," he said. "You are soft. You have no natural weapons. What makes you think you can defeat us?" Rodriguez smiled. It was a small smile, calm and certain. "You evolved on a paradise world," she said. "Warm oceans, gentle breezes, no predators larger than your hand. Everything you are, you built. Every weapon, every ship, every piece of armor. You made yourselves dangerous." She took a step forward. "We didn't have that luxury. My world tried to kill us every day we existed. We survived ice ages that froze the whole planet. We survived plagues that killed half our species. We survived predators that were faster than us, stronger than us, with claws and teeth that made yours look like toys. Another step. You want to know what a Deathworlder is? We're the species that looked at the most dangerous animals on our planet and decided to make them our pets. We domesticated wolves, because we thought it would be useful to have killing machines that loved us." The Honor Guard shifted. Something was changing in the air. They were beginning to understand that they had made a terrible mistake. "We invented nuclear weapons," Rodriguez continued. "Bombs that could destroy entire cities in a flash of light. And then we looked at what we had made, and we chose not to use them. Not because we couldn't, because we decided they were too effective. We held the power to destroy our own world in our hands, and we put it away." She stood directly before the Honor Guard leader now. She barely reached his chest. She should have looked like a child standing before a giant dot. She did not. "That's what makes us dangerous," she said softly. "Not our weapons, not our ships, our restraint. The fact that we could destroy you all, every single one of you, and we choose not to. We choose to take prisoners. We choose to let you live. Because we learned, through thousands of years of blood and fire, that mercy is the greatest strength of all." The Honor Guard leader raised his claws. Rodriguez moved on. No one saw exactly what happened. One moment she was standing still. The next, the Honor Guard leader was on the ground, unconscious, and she was brushing dust from her armor. "Anyone else?" she asked. The Honor Guard dropped their weapons. The bridge doors opened 5 minutes later. Urith sat in his command chair, forearms at his sides, mandibles sealed shut. He could not fight. He could not run. He could only watch as the small human female walked onto his bridge, followed by her silent team. "High Commander Urith," she said, "you are under arrest for crimes against sapient species under the Terran Confederation Articles of War. You will be given a fair trial. You will be allowed to speak in your defense. You will be treated with dignity and respect." Urith's mandibles worked soundlessly. "Why?" he finally managed. "Why do you do this? You have the power to destroy us. You have every reason to want revenge. Why show mercy?" Rodriguez looked at him for a long moment. "Because we remember what it was like to be prey," she said. "We remember what it was like to be hunted, to be afraid, to be helpless. And we decided, a long time ago, that we would never make anyone else feel that way. Not if we could help it. She gestured to her team. Secure the bridge. Treat the wounded. And someone get these people some water. It's going to be a long trip back to Earth. Yorith watched the humans work. They moved efficiently, professionally. They treated his crew with care, binding wounds and offering food and water. They were conquerors who acted like caretakers. He did not understand them. He was not sure he ever would. But for the first time in his long life, High Commander Yorith of the Veth Dominion began to wonder if there was something in the universe stronger than fear. Matriarch Silani gathered her people in the main hall of her ship. They were the last leaders of the Ashani, poets who would never write again, teachers with no children left to teach, artists whose works had been burned when the Veth came. We have stopped running, she told them. Her voice was tired but calm. There is nowhere left to go. The primitive world behind us cannot help us. Their people have not yet reached the stars. Then we die here, one of the elders said. There was no fear in his voice, only sadness. At least it ends. At least the fear stops. Silani looked out the viewport at the blue-green world called Earth. It was beautiful, covered in water and clouds, with green continents and white polar caps. A living world, full of creatures that did not know their galaxy was dark and cruel and hungry. Perhaps, she said softly, it is better that they never learn what waits among the stars. The first Veth weapon began to charge. Silani could see its glow in the distance, bright and terrible. She closed her eyes and prepared for the end. Then a voice filled every channel, every frequency, every speaker in the fleet. Veth Dominion vessels. This is Colonel Marcus Webb of the Terran Confederation Special Warfare Command. You are engaged in the pursuit and attempted genocide of protected refugees within Terran space. Seleni's eyes snapped open. The voice was speaking in perfect Ashani. It was speaking in perfect Veth. It was speaking in a dozen languages at once, all of them clear, all of them calm. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender. This is your only warning. Silence. Then, across the Veth fleet, the sound of laughter. High Commander Yor's voice crackled over the open channel. Who speaks? Show yourself, primitive. Let us see who dares threaten the Veth Dominion. 12 ships appeared. They did not arrive through hyperspace. They did not approach from the distance. They simply became visible, as if they had been there all along, waiting in the shadows. Small ships. Black ships. Ships that seemed to drink the light around them. 12 vessels, the Veth tactical officer reported, mandibles clicking with amusement. Each one barely larger than a shuttle. They threaten us with this? Yorth's laughter echoed across the command channel. You are outnumbered, human. You are outgunned. Your ships are toys compared to ours. Surrender now, and perhaps I will make your deaths quick. The human's response was simple. 25 seconds. Yorth snarled. All ships, open fire. Destroy these insects. 40 warships fired at once. Plasma lances bright as small suns. Kinetic rounds moving at a fraction of light speed. Guided torpedoes that could track a target across a solar system. Enough firepower to crack a small moon. The human ships were not there. They moved. That was the only word for it, but it was not enough. They flowed like water around the incoming fire. They danced between plasma beams and slipped past kinetic rounds. Torpedoes that should have tracked them perfectly went spinning off into empty space, confused and blind. How? The Veth tactical officer whispered. That's impossible. Those maneuvers would kill any crew. The humans did not answer with words. They answered with fire. The first shot came from the silent promise. It was not plasma. It was not kinetic. It was something the Veth had never seen before. a beam of energy that existed in dimensions their sensors could not measure. It struck the nearest Veth cruiser dead center. The cruiser died. Not slowly, not dramatically. It simply ceased to exist in one moment and became an expanding cloud of debris in the next. The explosion caught 2 nearby destroyers and tore them apart. 3 ships. Gone in 3 seconds. Return fire! Yorith screamed. All weapons, all ships. The Veth fleet filled space with death. And the human ships danced through it like shadows through light. Colonel Webb's voice returned. 20 seconds. Another shot. Another Veth cruiser died. Then another. Then 3 more. The human ships wove between the Veth formation, striking from angles that should not exist, disappearing before counterfire could connect. They're inside our formation. Someone shouted. They're everywhere. Aboard the Silent Promise, Colonel Webb watched the battle unfold with cold precision. His crew moved with perfect efficiency, each one knowing their role, each one executing it without hesitation. Target their weapons first, he ordered. I want those ships disabled, not destroyed. We take prisoners today. His tactical officer nodded. Shifting to precision targeting. The nature of the battle changed. The human ships stopped aiming for reactors and started aiming for weapon systems. Plasma lances exploded on their mounts. Kinetic accelerators twisted and died. Torpedo bays became empty holes in Veth hulls. The Veth fleet began to realize something terrible. They were not losing a battle. They were being taken apart like machines on an assembly line. The humans were not fighting them. The humans were dismantling them. 15 seconds, Colonel Webb announced. We surrender. Someone screamed on the Veth channel. Please, we surrender. But Yorth's voice cut through. No, the Veth do not surrender. All ships, concentrate fire on the lead human vessel. Destroy their commander. 22 ships turned their remaining weapons on the Silent Promise. They fired everything they had left. The Silent Promise did not dodge. It did not run. It flew straight into the barrage, taking hits that should have torn it apart. Its shields flared and held. Its hull bent but did not break, and then it emerged from the other side of the firestorm, scarred but alive, and fired once. The shot struck the Eternal Hunger's weapon systems. Every plasma lance, every kinetic accelerator, every torpedo tube. All of them died in a single moment, leaving the flagship defenseless. Yorith stared at his displays in horror. His weapons were gone. His fleet was burning. 18 of his ships had been destroyed. The rest were damaged, drifting, helpless. 12 human ships. 12 small ships. And they had broken the pride of the Veth Dominion in less than 10 minutes. This is Colonel Webb, the human voice said. Your time is up. Stand down and prepare to be boarded, or we will continue until there is nothing left aboard. In the Ashani convoy, Matriarch Solani watched the impossible battle end. Tears ran down her face, but they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of wonder. Who are they? One of her advisors asked. What kind of creatures could do this? Solani did not answer at first. She watched the black ships take position around the crippled Veth fleet. She watched the small craft launch from their hulls, carrying boarding parties toward the enemy vessels. I do not know, she finally said, but I think we have found something the galaxy has never seen before. Outside, the human ships held their positions, silent and patient, waiting for their soldiers to finish the work. The hunt was over. A new era had begun. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it ended, 22 Veth warships had been destroyed. 18 had been captured, their crews subdued with weapons that hurt but did not kill. Not a single human vessel had been lost. Not a single human had died. And the Ashani refugees floated safely in the center of it all. watching in stunned silence as their would-be killers were taken apart by 12 small ships and 300 soldiers. Colonel Marcus Webb stood on the observation deck of his ship, looking out at the stars. Behind him, the captured Veth fleet drifted under human control. Before him, the blue-green Earth turned slowly, beautiful and alive, and utterly unaware of what had just happened in its shadow. Colonel. Major Reyes appeared at his side. The Ashani matriarch is requesting permission to speak with you. Webb nodded. Put her through. The holographic display flickered to life, and Matriarch Salani appeared before him. She was small, even by Ashani standards, with large dark eyes that seemed to hold all the sorrow of her dying species. But there was something else in those eyes now. Something that had not been there before. Hope. Colonel Webb, she said. Her voice trembled slightly. I do not have words for what you have done. My people were ready to die. We had accepted our fate. And then you came. Webb shook his head. We did what anyone should do. We protected those who needed protecting. No. Seleni's voice grew stronger. No, Colonel. That is not what anyone does. In all our travels, across all the stars we have seen, no one has ever stood up for the weak. No one has ever risked themselves for strangers. The strong take. The powerful consume. That is the way of the galaxy. She paused, and tears began to flow down her face. Until you. Webb was quiet for a long moment. He thought about Earth, about the long and bloody history of his own species. Humans had not always been protectors. They had been conquerors too, once, slavers, destroyers. They had committed horrors against their own kind that would make the Veth look like amateurs, but they had learned. Slowly, painfully, through centuries of war and suffering, they had learned that there was another way. That strength could be used to shelter instead of strike. That power could heal instead of harm. Matriarch, he said finally, humanity has done terrible things. We have a past full of darkness and cruelty. But we decided, a long time ago, that we wanted to be better. We looked at what we were, and we chose to become something else. He turned to face her fully. You and your people will be given a world. A safe world in Terran space where no one will ever hunt you again. Your children will grow up without fear. Your poets will write again. Your artists will create. And we will stand watch over you for as long as you need us. Salani wept openly now. Why? We have nothing to offer you. We are weak. We cannot fight. We cannot help you. That's exactly why. Webb smiled gently. The measure of a civilization is not how it treats the powerful. It's how it treats those who have nothing to give in return. You needed help. We could give it. That's enough. The connection ended, and Webb stood alone on the observation deck. Major Reyes joined him a moment later. The Veth High Commander wants to speak with you, she said. I imagine he does. Webb turned from the viewport. Bring him to the conference room. And Reyes? Sir? Be kind to him. He's about to have his entire understanding of the universe destroyed. That's not easy for anyone. Yorith was waiting when Webb arrived. The Veth commander sat in a chair designed for humans, far too small for his large frame. He looked diminished, broken. The arrogance that had defined him was gone, replaced by something Webb recognized all too well. Confusion. I do not understand, Yorith said. His voice was quiet, almost lost. You had every right to kill us. We came to destroy innocence. We would have shown no mercy. And yet we didn't. Webb sat across from him. I know this is hard to comprehend. Your species has spent 12,000 years as predators. You've never met anything that could stop you, let alone choose not to destroy you when it had the chance. Why? The words seemed torn from Yorth's throat. What do you gain? Webb leaned forward. Let me tell you about humanity, Commander. We evolved on a world that was trying to kill us from the moment we took our first breath. Every day was a battle. Every generation faced new threats. We should have died 1,000 times over. But we didn't. We survived. We adapted. We became the most dangerous thing on our planet. He paused. And then we looked around and realized something. Being the most dangerous wasn't enough. Being strong wasn't enough. We had to choose what to do with that strength. We could use it to dominate, like you do. Or we could use it to protect. We chose to protect. Yorith shook his head slowly. That makes no sense. The strong rule. The weak serve. That is the natural order. No. Webb's voice hardened. That's the easy order. The natural order is chaos and death and suffering without end. What we've built, what we're trying to build, is something better. Something that doesn't come naturally at all. It has to be chosen every day by every person. He stood. There will be a trial, Commander. You'll answer for what you've done. But there will be justice, not revenge. And when it's over, if you want it, there will be a chance to learn another way. He walked to the door, then stopped. The Ashani will remember what you tried to do to them. But they'll also remember how it ended. Maybe, in time, they'll be willing to teach you what they know. They were artists once, poets, dreamers. Maybe they could teach the Veth something about beauty instead of blood. Yorith said nothing, but something flickered in his compound eyes. Something new. 3 months later, the Ashani collective settled on a world called New Harmony. It was a garden planet with gentle seas and warm breezes, a paradise that had been waiting for someone to love it. The first generation of children born there would never know fear. They would grow up under blue skies, playing in fields of flowers that no one had ever named, and across the galaxy. A story began to spread that it passed from ship to ship, from station to station, from the lips of traders to the ears of slaves. It was whispered in the dark places where the oppressed waited for salvation. It was shouted in the public squares where tyrants thought themselves safe. The story was simple. There are protectors among the stars. They come from a world of death and fire. They are small and soft, and they should be prey. But they are not prey. They are something the galaxy has never seen. They are the monsters that other monsters fear, and they are coming. On Earth, Colonel Marcus Webb retired from active duty. He built a small house by the sea and spent his days watching the waves crash against the shore. Sometimes the Ashani sent him messages, pictures of their children playing in the sunlight, recordings of new songs being sung. He never responded. He didn't need to. The work was its own reward. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, human ships patrolled the borders of Terran space, watching, waiting, ready. Because the galaxy was still dark and cruel and hungry. There were still predators out there, still empires built on blood, still innocents crying out for help. But now they had someone to call. Now they had hope. And for humanity, that was enough.